do I hear it twice?
You've got an open mic somewhere. And now we are all alone. Okay. Janet will be back in here in just a second. She's got to shut off a... There we are. And I want to implore to everybody that when you start doing this, you have these small... You'll find these fine-tuning moments. So you'll get it. How are you tonight, Janet?
I'm good. I was trying to come out like some kind of sorceress.
Keep that keep that outfit handy for Saturday. That's all I ask.
Oh, this outfit?
Yes.
Okay, for my cleric, that's less. Yes. This isn't really a cleric outfit, but that's okay.
Well, for a cleric of Freya, you could wear like a potato sack and have like a bag of
hoodie,
apple seeds, and a couple beers on you. And yeah, I mean, Six Nations 31 Kings is like Janet's class up the stream with all that cool bling. Yes, she is.
No, it's supposed to be like mystical. That's what I was trying to look like.
You definitely achieved that.
Yeah, I even put this on my ponytail.
I like the brooch.
Yeah, pretty, isn't it? It's from my grandmother's.
Okay. So, hi, everybody. I'd like to say thank you for everybody that came in the chat early. Shadow and Sun, Janet was in there greeting people as if she got people to their seats. Six Nations, 31 Kings. He wants to wear a skull cap like Nicole Williamson for this occasion. The late and great Nicole Williamson, for that matter. Aaron G-Rock always tuning on the underside of the carriage here. Appreciate that. Bowsette, hello. And Parrothead, hello, sir. Parrothead is one of the greatest memers I've ever met. Appreciate that. Bowsette, hello. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Garrett. He's like, the back end's all good. You're all clear, kid. So, get that out of the way. It's not a product. It's not a product we're advertising. Tonight, we're going to talk about this movie from 1981, directed by John Boorman. One of my favorite movies for fantasy films before the Peter Jackson trilogy came out. You know which one I'm talking about. I'm talking about EXCALIBUR, 1981. John Boorman, Nigel Terry. You had the late and the great Nicole Williamson. You had, of course, Helen Mirren, which I don't think has ever in a movie brought so many men through puberty.
She looked good, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was very spicy. Merlin was a lucky man.
Yes, he was.
She was interested in him.
Shadow and Sun, how you doing, sir? We're going to discuss that film, and there's a lot of aspects to discuss about this movie. It's really interesting because you have a lot of various things to discuss about this film. First off, let me ask Janet here. When this movie came out, did you go see it in the theaters?
I don't think so, because where I was in high school was a teeny tiny town of like 200 people.
Okay.
They didn't have anything. There was like almost an hour drive away just to get to the drive-in. I
empathize, and I know this feeling.
So, most of the time we just had to wait till it came out on VHS. And it was lucky if my mom would make a popcorn, and fill up a big paper sack from the grocery store. And then we would all pile in the vehicle and go to the drive-in. But that wasn't, not, every weekend or anything. So.
Mm-mm. No, back then we're getting out of the recession that Jimmy Carter caused. And Ronald Reagan had not gotten full power yet. He didn't do that till like 82, 81 November, somewhere around there. And this movie didn't come out at that time. It came out a little bit before that, if I remember right. So when I finally see this movie, it's in like 82. I'm over at my friend's house. He's got HBO. Well, I'm going to watch every movie I can because mom and dad won't let me watch any of these over at my grandparents' house. I watched The Thing. I watched Excalibur. I mean, I watched Escape from New York. So this movie kind of hit me a little bit when I was a young kid because I was really mystified by all the green magical items in it. And kind of went that way. In high school, we finally had a English teacher that knew about the direction and how they actually filmed this movie. So before we would start class watching this film, which it was a great thing to go to a high school, that my English teacher was a hippie, refined hippie. Dude would smoke up as soon as he got out of that building. So the next day he'd come in, he'd say, "Oh yeah, I forgot about this." And he'd fill out 10 minutes of just how they made this film. And he knew all about it. And he told us a lot about this. This was the late Paul Main out of Illinois, Warrensburg area, because he was just fantastic about finding small bits of information. And he kind of woke up that in a lot of us that went to his school, went to his classes. He would just discuss things, and he would lead you down bunny trails, and he would develop a teenage mind into an inquisitive individual to where they would always be asking questions. How did this happen? How do they make this? How do they film this? How did they get that sound right? So when I was a young kid, that was like the big question. How do they get all the wet magic to be green? And I know that sounds stupid, but that was just kind of cool.
Well, I didn't see the movie when it first came out because it was like maybe 2 years later when I get to watch it. So I didn't get to see it.
About the same
when
time.
I did get to watch it was at home on the VHS. So then it was fun.
We didn't have our first VCR, and mind you, it was a Sony Betamax until 1985. So we had to play catch up.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I couldn't tell you exactly what year it was because you got to remember I had 5 or 4 siblings at that time living with me, and we had a 3-bedroom house and 1 bathroom. So my parents had 1 room, and then I shared a room, and so did my other sister. So
okay.
We had 2 in each room, and it was crowded. And my poor dad would use the trees outside more than he did in the bathroom.
Guys.
So that's how it was.
Wolfton Media says, "Stand back, be silent, be still." That's it.
But yeah, I was impressed with the actor that played Merlin right off the bat. I mean, he looked so familiar to me, but I couldn't remember, and I still really can't any other movies he was in. But he did. I just loved his voice. I loved his mannerisms. I loved how he portrayed Merlin in this movie. I just thought he was phenomenal. He was, to me, he was the standout actor in this movie.
He is the textbook boilerplate for so many DMs, mentor wizard in their games that I played with. And like so many guys would run Merlin as the NPC.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Merlin, it was Tommy or Billy or whatever his name is. But it was really Nicole Williamson. And his performance in this film, he took the Ben Kenobi and he removed that gentleness from Ben Kenobi, I felt. And what you had left was this mentor that would shape you despite your flaws and mistakes. We would get this statue built. We would get this thing done. And you would be complete. And I like that about him because he wasn't like a cuddly sort of guy. He didn't have that.
Yeah, he was very stern, but very smart. You could tell he was very analytical, and he thought about everything that he was doing. So to me, the script around his character was phenomenal. I mean, it was just so detailed in the way he spoke. Now, I don't know if he ad-libbed or anything, but the way he spoke about, when he was talking to different people, the first king, was that Gabriel Byrne?
I think so.
Oh, man, he is so hot. I mean, he was good looking. When I was watching this movie the other day, I was like, damn, that king. I wish I was the woman he wanted to go visit. That's what I was thinking. But man, he was good looking, even though he was an ass. You know, he's
Gabriel Byrne played it to the hilt.
Yeah, he was really good, and I loved him in a couple of movies. One of the movies that I would love to review was the one where he's a priest, and I can't remember the name of it right this second, but I can't remember the actress's name either. But it is a really good, scary movie. Stigmata, I think, is what it's called. But what I was
back in '94.
Yeah, I think that, but I noticed the little girl that played the young Morgana was Barbara Byrne. So was it his daughter?
It might have been his daughter.
Yeah, because the young girl that was saying, Merlin, are you the mom or the mother and the father now?
Yes.
Yeah, when she asked that, so I was just thinking that maybe that was his daughter when I saw the names of the people.
Young Morgana is Barbara Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
And let me click on here. She did very few films. She did Excalibur, Dual Rainbow. She was Neighbor Lady in 2002. And Into the Woods, she plays Jack's mother. Into the Woods.
Oh, from Jack and the Beanstalk?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Yep. It's actually Stephen Sondheim's musical Into the Woods, performed on stage at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego, California. And Barbara Byrne has the top billing in that. Oh, wow. You got Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Red Riding Hood. Looks like a who's who of the Grimm fairy tales.
And I was surprised, or I have to say this real quick before I forget, that Liam Neeson was in this movie.
Yes. He played Gwaine.
I know. I was, when I saw him, I kept looking. I was like, is that Liam Neeson in this movie? I didn't have a clue. I didn't even remember him even being in it, because I really didn't know who he was until he started doing action movies. Once he started doing that, that's when I started paying more attention to him. I think the first movie I ever saw Liam Neeson was the one where he was Scottish and he was a swordsman, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. What?
Rob Roy.
Yes. Oh my God, that movie is so good. That was an excellent movie. We need to do that one too. But I was shocked, so I had to say that before I forgot my train of thought. But I'm sorry to interrupt you. So go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. Nicole Williamson, the man who played Merlin, also was in the movie Spawn from 1997, and he was the one bright spot in that movie for me. That I hated that movie, but Nicole Williamson utterly stole the movie.
You didn't like Spawn?
Not live action. The HBO animated version.
I liked Spawn. I thought it was really good. So, oh well.
It's okay. We're not going to like everything. That's fine.
No.
I love how the movie starts, and for like 15 to 20 minutes, you have Uther Pendragon's Chronicle, where it goes about him, pretty much just failing. And he's like, my penis is going to take over my life. And Nolan's like, fine, but I'm going to reap every crop you sow. And he does.
Yeah, the scene where Gabriel Byrne's character, King Uther, King Uther was there, and his wife was dancing around, doing her her little shots, sassy stuff going on. And he was like, I have to have her. And his men were saying, no, we can't risk war for you to, for this to happen, blah, blah, blah. So his men were smarter than him, basically. It just showed that his lust was stronger than, I guess, his power to say no or something. I don't know.
Janet, until you've woken up, this is bad. When you wake up in the morning with a heart on, and you have the means to release, and like you're used to this, and then one day you're like, oh, look, a new tree to pee on.
Hey, women have the same thing. It's just that ours isn't like showing for everyone to see it.
Yeah, you guys get that heartbeat in your ear though, because it starts to swell a little bit, and it's like,
I don't know what it is. I can just tell you that we're just going, I'm going to kill something if I don't do something today. But that's normal. I'm just saying. But I don't think I would risk going to war for it. I mean, at least my character wouldn't.
You'd be surprised.
Well, if maybe if he looked like Superman or something, I might say, okay.
Wait, what version of Superman? Christopher Reeve, post or pre-wheelchair?
Either one.
Or Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill, probably.
Okay. I mean, he's still alive.
Yeah. He's good looking, too.
You still get morning wood out of him.
I'd let him tear my clothes off with his teeth. I'd enjoy it, too.
I would film it just so I could ransom that tape off to Anna, the Star Wars girl.
But I'm telling you, he is good looking. And, you know, that's why it took me a while for me to get used to him as the Witcher, because of him having the white hair. I was like, kind of like, I like a darker hair on men, more, I guess, Italian looking or something. I don't know. That just seems to be the men I kind of turn my head looking at. Now, Brad Pitt was good looking in the movie Thelma and Louise, when he was jumping on the bed. He was jumping on the bed with the blow dryer or something. I don't remember for sure, but he was cute in that. But he was blonde, so he wasn't really. I just never really got into surfer dude looking kind of guys. Like Patrick Swayze was like, you know.
I really think you're gonna like my first week of January release that I have, because I've got my movies planned out till then. And I
was gonna say, any guys in the chat that want to send me their like headshots to my Discord, if you think you look Italian, you can. I won't say no. In my selfie area, which is just.
I'm pulling up your Discord right now.
Because I have quite a few guys that leave it in, and I always try to comment and say hi or something. I'm very active on my Discord. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt again.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I've been just going through the chat here and highlighting people.
I can't read the chat and talk at the same time.
Oh, you're good. Nicole Williamson and Helen Mirren hated each other at the start of this movie because they'd just done a Shakespearean work together, and they were still like, because it had just not worked. The entire production was just riddled with just problems, and so they kind of blamed everybody there. And so when Boorman had a chance to pick them, he's like, the animosity between them will be real.
Yeah,
and he did that, and you can tell the first few scenes they're together that rage is still there under the surface, and then this movie wears on.
Which character is she mad at? I was trying to look.
Helen Mirren was playing Morgana.
Yeah,
and Nicole Williamson was Merlin.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
man, I thought they had some fiery chemistry. To me,
they did.
Okay, well, yeah, it was really.
You're not going to achieve the same level of success with somebody if you're just happy-go-lucky the whole time. No. If you have valleys and dips and hatred occasionally,
yeah,
you're going to have some really nice
jealousy. People. That works too.
Squeaky Mouse agrees with you. Oh my God, yes, Henry Cavill, you and me both. Yes, but his teeth. Shadow and Sun, dick. Stay tuned next month. Bruce's hair will return and be jet black.
Yeah, but I can't help it. I mean, why should I lie about it? I mean, it's just no reason to. I mean, if he's good looking, he's good looking. Very attractive. But I even think older actors are attractive too. I mean, it just depends on what they're portraying, and who they're portraying or what they're wearing, and how they act. But to me, if I don't care how good looking he is, if he's a dick and acts like a dick and talks down to people, I won't give him his time. I won't talk to him. I'm not interested in a guy that thinks he's better than everybody, that walks around, looks at his hand, says, yeah, see good looking that hand is, stuff like that. That turns me off. I don't like stuck up people. I like people that are fun, love who they are, and just want to have a good time. So
Six Nations, 31 Kings says, I got a face for radio. Let me tell you the story of my life.
Oh, I think you're adorable. I want to grab your cheeks and just squeeze them.
My grandma did that for years. That's why they're so swollen.
Well, you got a good looking woman that loves you, so she must think you're very sexy and attractive. Yeah. So, and that to me is attractive. And when I meet a man that makes his woman happy and he does things around the house for her and he's attentive to her, to me, that's attractive to other women.
Well, she just really is here for the fact I give her a handicap sticker.
That's good.
She's like, bullshit.
No, I know, I'm kidding. But that's, you know, but the thing is that's important, I think. When another woman sees how another man treats you with respect, it's attractive, I think. I mean, just like the character of the young man that ends up becoming King Arthur, he's very kind and courteous and generous because of the person that raised him. So when Merlin took him, you know, to leave him, he knew what he was doing. He wanted to pick someone that wouldn't turn him into his dad. You know.
Yeah. Speaking of his dad, the sword. You promised me the sword.
Yeah.
He
didn't deserve it.
No, he didn't.
He was self-centered and selfish, and he was what I want. And the fact that he just took her baby, ripped her baby from her arms, and handed it over.
Just mine.
But the sad fact is, back then, you know, in reality, women couldn't say no. Women didn't have. We were property. You know, if you saw a good-looking woman, you could just club her over the head and take her to the cave. You know what I'm saying? You didn't. I mean, that's reality. I mean, that's just, women have come a long way. So, I mean, I like being a woman, but I like to have the choice, you know, of who I want to
end up with. Over the head against my will.
And I'll be worth it, you know, once I, you know, get the right one. I'm willing to cook and mow the yard and, you know, do all that stuff and, you know, be a real woman. But the thing is that I try to put myself into the characters of whatever it is I'm watching in the era. So you can kind of, you get the overall concept of what that woman went through. I mean, he snuck into her room, pretended to be her husband, which she wouldn't have cheated on her husband, I don't think, because she loved him. So he knew that he had to be her husband to be able to even get to have sex with her. Then she gets pregnant on her shitty luck, you know, from the one time, and she gets pregnant, and then her husband dies the exact same night. Yeah, well, you know what I mean. That was it, but she didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, all she knows is that she thought she had sex with her husband, and she finds out she's pregnant. And then later on, the guy shows up, and then they take her kid after she went through 9 months of carrying it and then giving birth to it. Yeah. You know, and I just felt sorry for her. I mean, I felt sorry for the women back then. Now, except for Ellen Mirren's character. Now, she, because of her choices in her life to become a mystic or a sorceress or whatever, she was able to pick and choose what she wanted to do with her life.
Yeah.
So, because she just put a spell on you, put a hex on you or whatever, you know, it was over. So she was lucky. But the other women, you know, really didn't have the choice. They just had to take whatever was available.
Joe's Atmosphere pops in here. This is the first time he's been in. I know Joe, not very well, but I've been in chats where he's paneled. He's like, Bruce, had to stop by one of my top 5 movies of all time. We're going to talk about this movie for about two, maybe 3 hours. So stick around, Joe, if you can. I implore you. I think this movie does a great job of showing what life was like in the Middle Ages, even though the plate mail was probably 1500s or 1400s. There's some other things that you see in here that are a little bit later than the 1200 Dark Ages-esque time where it says. But it was probably about 700 AD when it was supposed to happen. And it does show properly how life is for these people. And
I didn't realize that the armor wasn't fitting for
that armor was way later than when the Legend of Arthur was supposed to be about.
Oh, well, I didn't notice. I mean,
That
I
armor,
didn't.
go ahead.
They just look like knights, and they look like they had very nice, heavy armor, you know, to protect them from different blows. Like when you were doing the jousting and things like that, you'd have to have something besides just a leather vest or a chainmail or whatever. So or you're gonna have splinters all in your chest when that thing busts. So I just thought it seemed very realistic to me. I really enjoyed it.
That's like 20 years happily divorced. I don't cook, I don't clean for nobody but me.
Well,
Hey,
lots of people have to do that for themselves because there isn't anyone else. But if you're going to marry someone just to cook and clean for you, then don't do it. Marry somebody or date someone because you want to spend time with that person.
Yeah.
Go fishing with them or hunting or hiking.
We have yet to go
boating.
fishing.
Yeah, I'm going to go kayaking on Wednesday. I'm so excited.
Where are you going kayaking at?
I don't know yet. We haven't decided, but I don't care. Just want to go somewhere. Probably the White River, Arkansas River, something like that.
Do you have to have in Arkansas a stamp on your kayak saying you're licensed to? Okay, because where I'm from, every waterborne craft has to have a stamp or a sticker from Illinois, and they make like $79 off each one of those to be renewed annually.
I mean, if you did have to have it, nobody I know has it on a kayak or a canoe, and I just don't see rangers hanging out in all these little nooks and crannies to see. Oh, do you have a sticker? So I don't think that'd be a problem.
I love Joe's atmosphere.
Hey, I might get arrested.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He has this line from the end of the movie. I've often thought that in the hereafter of our lives, when I owe no more to the future, can just be a man, that we may meet, and you'll come to me and claim me yours, and know that I am your husband. It is a dream I have. It's his favorite line of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good line, actually.
Yeah, there was lots of good lines in this movie.
Not just the lines. The music in this film is just a complete, like, when I'm listening to this movie as I'm watching it last night or early this morning, I'm thinking, I really didn't realize all of these songs are in this film. And it really knocked me for a loop because I wasn't aware. I've heard them before. We've gamed with ghetto blasters belting these tunes out at 70 decibels. What? Did you roll to hit? Did you make your skill check? You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, you have so many just amazing pieces. Trevor Jones did the music in this film, and he's got a combination of classical pieces and music invented for the movie. I could just listen to this on repeat doing my job every day as the SST driver for San Antonio.
Yeah, the music was phenomenal.
The music is why I probably love this movie the most, because it's as epic to me as what you have with Star Wars. This is one of the most epic soundtracks I've ever heard. And I hate saying that because epic is used so frequently. But this is one of those soundtracks when it gets a hold of you, it gets in your skin, and you're like, this is in the movie too? Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. The scenery was good too. I mean, considering it, like when Sir Lancelot was walking through that one part with the rocks and the ferns and things coming out, it looked like real. It looked like real ferns, real moss on the rocks, the trees. I mean, the shading of the light. I mean, all that just seemed real. Like I could go right now out and go hiking and go to some, certain places, and I could see that exact type of stuff out in the country where there, people don't normally go. And some of the places you have to have a horse basically to get to it. So to me, that was a very realistic. A lot of the visions they gave you through the lens and the angles that they used, I thought were really good. And the way when they were doing the jousting at the, I guess it was like a show that they were doing, and they had the two rows on top of each other with the women standing on top, and they looked like real chopped wood that was tied together with the little spikes on the top. And then you had the other part underneath where people were sitting, and then on the other side was where the king and the queen were, and other people in their court or whatever. And it was a little fancier, but they looked like what I would imagine would be around back at that time, to be watching, to be able to look down and see the jousting and the other events going on. It just looked like it wasn't elaborate, everything all being ginormous stones and things like that. So to me, it was very realistic. It drew me in because I felt like I could just, walk amongst the other people and feel like it was authentic. I mean, that's how I felt, even though you're now telling me that their costumes weren't. I mean,
it's from a time past from our timeline and from our era, but this is about 800 years past when the story took place. And that's fine. That's completely okay. It was who was it? Somebody mentioned it was Macbeth, that it was a production that just went completely downhill, and Helen Mirren and Nicole Williamson were initially reluctant to work with each other, and because that Sir John Boorman cast them because their animosity would be perfect. And according to Helen Mirren, her and Nicole Williamson wound up becoming very good friends during the filming, and you kind of see
you can tell. I think so, definitely. Even though he would like disappear for long periods of time. I didn't understand that. I thought that was interesting. And then when he said that after he did that spell to make him be able to run across the lake, basically on his horse in the mist and not drowned, and go in and then also look like the king, go in there and make himself look like the king when he was having sex, and then get the lady pregnant and then leave without being killed or whatever. So all of that happening was a very powerful magic. So he said he had to sleep for 9 moons, which, to recover from it. So I thought all that seemed very mystical, and that you could see that he was using dark arts to do that, because he was transforming to do something that wasn't nice. He wasn't doing something for the people, even though he was, because to me, the one person besides Arthur in the whole movie that cared about the kingdom was Merlin, because he wanted a good king. He wanted a king that would take care of his people and take care of his lands. And he knew that this king was not the one. So by taking his heir and later bringing him out, by letting him pull the sword from the stone, was his way of healing the dragon, basically, which was the earth, the way he portrayed it. So by setting all this up, Merlin was the one that could see what was going to happen. So when Arthur did what he did by handing his sword over to that one knight to knight him so he could be a king, and Merlin was like, "What's this?" Because it shocked him, because he was like, "This guy's going to kill him." Because his greed, but he didn't. And I wrote down that line because I thought it was so good. Let me see right here. He said, "He who draws the sword from the stone," with that part came up, and then he said, "If a boy has been chosen, a boy shall be king." When he said that, but that whole part where you could see the anger in some of the knights that didn't want Arthur because he was a boy. You know, they didn't want a boy king, they wanted a man. And they were hoping like Patrick Stewart or one of those other characters would be able to pull the sword from the stone, but he couldn't. So when he knighted him, and you see the look on Merlin's face of shock, because he couldn't even tell exactly what was going to happen. All he knew is that this person that's going to come forth is going to be worthy of being a king if he could get him to listen and get the knowledge he needed, that he had a good heart and that he would care about the world. So, but when he said, when the guy said, "Rise, King Arthur," he said, "I'm your humbled knight, and I swear allegiance to the courage in your veins. So strong it is." And I almost started crying. I thought it was so good. "Its source must be from the dragon. I doubt you no more." So, you know, it almost, you know, I started, you know, I had tears running down my face. I wasn't bawling, but to me, the look on his face, and then Arthur's pride of just being knighted was like, he acted like a young man. You know, he had that glow about him, you know, because he wanted to do the right thing. Like he kept telling Merlin, "You got to teach me. I want to do what's right." And that's when Merlin had told him that you have to be healthy along with the dragon. So without you, the dragon will suffer. So he was fine until his heart was broken. And he did a great job at that until that happened to him. You know,
the trial by combat scene you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The way this was originally supposed to happen was this was not supposed to be Excalibur. Boorman was supposed to direct a version of Lord of the Rings. So the wood set where they had the combat and the jousting and all that happening, that was supposed to be for the Rivendell Council. And they actually went to building sets and they started doing things, and they did not get the green light for it. I don't know what happened, but it's listed on a bunch of trivia pages. And United Artists rejected a lot of things, and they said, "You can have anybody else play Merlin." And they were ready to greenlight it with Max von Sydow. Max von Sydow was supposed to be Merlin. And then they hear that Nicole Williamson is going to play Merlin. They're like, "Anybody but him. We want anybody but him. You have Max von Sydow. Go ahead and go with that." And it was a lot of tampering. This movie almost started to orbit the drain because of all the problems that UA and Sir John Boorman were having. And finally, Sir John Boorman set his feet down and he's like, "We'll concede some things. We'll do certain things. But I want to have this movie, the sets must be close enough to my house to where I can go and sleep in my own bed." And so they shook hands on that.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I read about. There's a bunch of locations where this was at. The battle scenes and Sir Lawrence Olivier Henry V were also filmed at the Powerscourt Estate. That was a fight between Sir Lancelot and King Arthur,
Mm-hmm.
where Lancelot does that great line, and he says, "Your rage has unbalanced you. You, sir, would fight to the death against a knight who is not your enemy. Over a stretch of road you could easily ride around." I love that line. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
So
who played that actor anyways? I'm gonna look again.
Oh,
he looked familiar.
Nicholas Clay. And you might recognize Nick Clay. This movie here is kind of like the Genghis Khan movie that John Wayne did, because there's a bunch of people that were in this film that died of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Clay is one of those guys. He died in May 25th of 2000 at the age of 53. And he did a fantastic job. He was a 6 foot tall individual. And this was just one of those films that he was amazing with. He had liver cancer for years before that. And it wasn't something he was going to pull out of. But he died of cancer. Nigel Terry, who played King Arthur, died of cancer. Nicole Williamson, cancer, and I believe Gabriel Byrne still alive. Yeah, like this movie is like a cancer-ridden trip. It reminded me a lot when I'm reading this, and then what happened to Where Are They Now? This movie is a lot like The Conqueror, but with John Wayne, where he played Genghis Khan, and they were riding around in the irradiated deserts of Utah filming that movie, and everybody died of cancer. John Wayne had a lot of strength, and he outlasted everybody else on the cast that succumbed to it. And it's just a sad situation. It's just like, why, you know?
Well, Ellen Mirren, she hasn't passed away. She's still kicking, isn't she?
She's a pinnacle of health. Like whatever she was
doing.
Yeah,
I loved her in almost every movie I've seen her in. She's just a phenomenal actress, and she did a great job in this movie.
There was 15 years ago, Helen Mirren got caught on a beach in a bikini, and she still looked smoking hot. I'm just going to say it reminded me. Actually, she had a better curvy body than Princess Diana when she got caught by the paparazzi. I really liked Helen Mirren more than Princess Di. And I'm not a super fan of UK ladies. No offense, ladies, but Helen Mirren, yeah, she's a beautiful person.
Actually, she was beautiful in what was it? The one with where she was a spy and she had to duke it out with that Russian guy, but they were like in love. They were lovers, and there was like 5 or 6 other people, and I think Bruce Willis was in the movie. I can't remember. Red. Yeah. Oh my God, that was such a good movie. I absolutely love it. She was so pretty in that movie. Yeah, you know, she was a beautiful woman. She's still beautiful. God, I hope I look half as good as her when I'm her age.
That's the chat. Ask the chat, because the chat's going crazy over you tonight.
Oh, really? They like my outfit?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about having this and pinning it, like, you know, like with that one scene where she had it like pinned, and I was going to pin both of them to my hair and do that. But I wanted people to see my necklace because I don't get to wear it very often. Yeah, it's a costume jewelry, you know.
Helen Mirren and Cheery, what's her name? Cheery Lungi, who plays Guinevere, who I think she's a beautiful one in this film.
Oh, I loved her hair. I wish I'd had her hair. It was so full and beautiful.
She could make shampoo commercials until she was 70.
Oh yeah, she was gorgeous. And she had that bubbly persona, you know, like what was the actress that was Bruce, that darn it, the guy from Convoy, Burt, what's his name?
Lancaster?
No, Burt Reynolds, or think is that okay? Sally Field. Okay.
Sally. Okay.
She had that to me, because my mom loves Sally Field, everything at Sally Field stuff. She had that bubbly personality, kind of like Sally Field, the actress that played Guinevere, I think.
Well,
a wholesome quality to her.
She was really wholesome. This movie was amazingly, like, there's clearly defined good people in this movie, and there's people that are kind of neutral, and then you have the evil pricks in this film. And like, oh my God, Morgana Helen Mirren amazes me with her level of just rampant plotting. She does so much plotting in this movie. It's great.
You could tell that as she progressed, her story arc progressed when she had her son, and she was talking to him and grooming him because she was like obsessed that her son was going to be king, period. Yeah. No matter what it took, you know, and she used her magic constantly. Like when she was rubbing him with that oils and stuff and telling him that not any sword or this, that, and the other would be able to pierce this armor, blah, you know, all this different stuff. A magic spell on his golden, you know, outfit. So she was totally obsessed with getting even with Merlin for what he did to her mother. And so in a way I can kind of, you know, understand, because just like I said earlier, that women didn't really have any say in any of that stuff. You know, if the king saw you and you said no, they'd probably just have you killed, you know. So what choice did you have? You just had to bend over and take it if you were a woman back then. So
this, as far as sexuality, this movie was like pretty high on the scale. This movie.
Yeah, I was surprised how much nudity was in it.
Okay, let's talk about that for just a second. The sex scene between Katrine Boorman, John Boorman's daughter, and Mr. Gabriel Byrne. Yeah. They were not in the same room when this was going on. They were filmed.
Yeah, she was a stand-in or whatever.
He was with a pincushion.
Stand-in.
He was with a peach-colored pincushion.
Yeah. Oh, really? It wasn't a real woman?
Nope. Oh. But then you have Sir Lancelot, played by the late great Nicholas Clay, and Sherry Lungi, played by playing Guinevere. Those two are naked in the miserable cold of a UK forest.
Yeah, really. They looked like they were laying on real rocks and stuff.
They were. That was pretty authentic. Their level of discomfort, and they did pretty good with that scene for them having all the mosquitoes around them and just feasting on their flesh and just being parasites.
Well, to me, I noticed there was way more of him, pretty much every inch of his body except for his privates.
They did not show his penis, but you got to see every other part of his body.
Yeah, I mean, he had a nice ass. I could say that. Right. He had a nice back. I mean, I was enjoying the scenery. So, see, women like seeing certain things as long as it's tasteful.
If you wake up with a vagina, this movie is a must see. This Definitely. Is a must see movie if you're a woman. This really is.
It's got a lot of to me it had romance. It had lots of battles where they got to fight with swords. I mean, there wasn't any blowing them up and stuff like that. But I love the horses in it. I mean, it just had a lot of things that I think is attractive, for a movie that draws me in. So the romance part of it, which you knew we were going to have something like that. But even the magical stuff I thought was really, really good. The green mists and the use of the green I thought was really smart because they always use either a red or a blue, like a blue color. Even in Star Wars, everything was red, blue, red, blue. Red, it was just nice to see something totally different. And when he kept talking about the dragon, which was the earth, so why wouldn't the magic coming from the earth be green? Like a luminescent moss, something like that. That kind of thing is what popped in my head.
All around the sets, they put reflectors around the sets to give that green hue everywhere.
I loved it. I thought it was very, very good. And the way they did the mists too. I've seen, I don't know how many scary movies where they use fog machines and stuff, and you could tell they just had no idea what they were doing. Because it's all clumped or it's all like rising in one spot, and so just different things like that. This one, like when it was billowing out of the tent, when her son saw the stuff and was going towards it, because she said there would be no mist or whatever. I don't know. It just looked very authentic, like it was coming right out of the tent and flowing down the hill a little bit. It was heavy, like a heavy mist. It was beautiful too. I thought. I just think that kind of stuff was really good, and the tents looked authentic to me. That looked like they were have been made back then. So little things like that to me, I thought were really important.
Now, if anybody here is familiar with the film Zardoz, and you know who you are.
I haven't seen it.
This is a John Boorman. It's not a porn. It should be. There's a Mankini scene with Sean Connery.
For real?
Oh, hold on. This is a John Boorman not so classic. And I feel sorry for you because we are going to watch this movie next year.
That's okay. I mean it for the long haul. I mean, I don't think we could ever run out of movies, so I'm excited about it. But yeah, the whole thing of when the scene where Liam Neeson, well, before we get to that, let's go back to the part where he pulled the sword out of the stone, trying to find the sword that he couldn't find for his brother because he was trying to, be a good squire. Oh my goodness. That's terrible. That
All I'm going to say is your gun is good. The penis is bad. The
Is
gun is good.
Is he
The
naked
penis is
with that
bad.
on? Why is his skin so white?
Because it's Sean Connery, and he never puts himself out on the beach.
Well, one picture looked darker, and then the other one looked white, like he had a lawn johns on or something underneath.
No, this is Travis J 1975 says Zardoz is slightly porn. It is. it's not.
So it's like
good. It's
they had different ratings, didn't they? They had like R rating was pretty dirty back in the 80s, right? Early 80s.
1974.
Okay. And so it's pretty close. So XXX back then was like hardcore.
Yeah,
really.
you were seeing all sorts of juices and shaft penetration.
Ew. And you'd hear sounds, like the mics are right on something.
You can.
I only seen a couple porns in my whole life, so
I can only slapping the thigh. I'll just say that.
So I've only seen a few. So
yeah, I love that Wolfton Media is in our chat, and he is pulling quotes out of the page on probably IMDb, but he's pulling so many good quotes out of there, and it's just refreshing because this guy's into it. Like like Joe's Atmosphere is into the movie, like top 5 movie. And like seriously, this movie has some of the best quotes I've ever seen, read, and heard performed.
Travis says the Warriors painted their skin white.
They did.
So that's probably why he looked so pale.
It's
because his head looked brown, but the rest of him looked like he was wearing long johns.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know if that was just a bad quality picture or what.
Well, Bowsette, I haven't stepped out of the 80s yet.
XXX back then, you couldn't see anything because of all the shrubbery. They didn't do manscaping, I guess.
There was no manscaper in 1980. No.
Yeah, but that's funny because I've seen casting notices where they were going to be doing flashback scenes like in a strip bar. And it was in the 70s, the early 70s. And they all on this small print, it said that you had to have big bush for the women, because they get paid really good money. And they wanted real authentic strippers, but they said they had to have big bush.
Who's got a stunt bush? I need a stunt bush. Stunt bush.
So, they actually do that stuff, in movies. They cast you for, what you have to offer to look authentic. Like these fingernails, okay? If I had them painted or they were pointed, like they do nowadays with the cat claws, or they were painted a different color, you wouldn't be able to be in certain movies because they're not, real looking. They don't look, it doesn't fit. And like for the TV show American Horror Story, for Freak Show, they wanted everything to be authentic 50s, So you had to have the really red lipstick, the pointy bras, you had to have authentic gloves and all the different shoes and things like that, if you could bring your own stuff. So
did they trim it with a herring?
I doubt it.
70s playing cards of those naked ladies. Yeah, I've got a couple of those.
Wow, you should keep those. They're probably worth money.
They are.
If they're not like dirty from you be playing with them while you're playing.
You put them in card protector sleeves and they're good.
I don't know if anybody thought about that stuff.
Gabriel Byrne had a really bad Irish accent and made "One Night with a Grain" sound like "One Night with Your Granny."
Yeah, but everybody knew he was talking about because everybody's watching the woman dance.
Yeah.
She was a really beautiful redhead.
Now, Paul Jeffrey played Percival in this film, and I didn't realize, I've seen this movie, and then I went 15 years without watching the film, but I listened to the music probably about once every 2 months. Sorry, it just comes on my YouTube music.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Jeffrey's in this movie a lot in the last half of it, and the way he gets to be the job, the squire boy for Sir Lancelot is he kind of ambushes him and then feeds him a roast rabbit. The roast rabbit is real, so when you see Sir Lancelot smelling it, and he's like, it's 3 hours from lunch. This smells really good. That's not him acting. He's actually going like, I could eat this.
Yeah, I love rabbit. Have you ever had rabbit before?
Quite a few times. It's a little
Yeah,
game.
it's not too bad. Yeah, but it depends on how long you've let it sit around before you put it on the grill.
Yeah.
How gamey it is. The longer you wait, the gamier it gets.
Now, when Igraine is losing her baby because Merlin's there to snatch it up, baby Arthur grabs a hold of her hair, and that's just a coincidence. The kid just like grabbed out. He was making a reflex.
Yeah,
but it looked good for camera.
Yeah, it sure did.
Great.
It was heart-wrenching to me as a mother.
The little girl that played baby Morgana is Barbara Byrne, and this movie, according to United Artists, for the longest time was considered the John Boorman family project because you have Charlie Boorman playing Boy Mordred, you have Katrine Boorman playing Igraine.
For real? Let me go back. Let me see that.
Daughter. He filmed his daughter naked, getting raped. She enjoyed every minute of it. He's even in the trivia portion of IMDb, he's like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I mean, it's been in the script, and my daughter didn't mind filming it. She had fun, and she got paid for it.
Yeah, and she didn't get raped for real. It was just what it looked like.
It's exactly. It's just what it looked like. It's not a, there's 3 Boormans on film. I forget where the last one is.
I don't know what it was like in the 80s, but today I'm telling you, they have people there all the time watching the children and the pets too. The animals have a person on set at all times to make sure they're being fed, taken care of, and not mistreated in any way. And the same thing for children. And the children can only work for so many hours a day, period.
Now,
that's why they like twins.
Yeah. Nicholas Clay, who was, hold on just a moment. Nicholas Clay, Nicole Williamson was Arthur. Nick Clay played Lancelot. And Corin Redgrave, and he played, I'm loving this new 2 gigabit cable, by the way. He played Cornwall. Dickhead. And then Robert Addy and Niall O'Brien, they all died from cancer on this film. Charlie Boorman was diagnosed with testicular cancer. That's where your lumps show up on your balls, man. So if you play with your balls, you don't have to worry about that because you can feel when there's a lump there. It's like, this is not normal. I got to see.
Well, that's why you're supposed to go to your yearly physical.
Yes.
Just like the women.
But men do this on a daily basis. We fondle ourselves on a daily. We do a parts check. It's part of the boot up. I've woken up. Let me do a boot. And that's it.
Yeah, I don't know very many women that play with their boobs every day, so I definitely have to say that men are different when it comes to that.
There's like 3 Boormans in this movie, aside from John Boorman, and you have. And this is all filmed in basically Ireland. So if you guys want to go see the tour, the sites of where this movie was at, you have to go to Ireland. It's not in England. It's okay. Ireland's still gorgeous. Been there.
Oh, I would love to go one day. I wanted to go to Australia, but after what they've done to their people, I wouldn't want to spend my money there.
Let's see. You got Tulsi Boorman, and Tulsi plays. Yeah, Boorman had his 3 kids there, and Tulsi wasn't really part of the cast. He was just doing additional crew like gaffer, best boy, that sort of thing, and he was helping out Dad. But he was paying his family members because shit, we're all living at home. Let's drive 5 minutes down the road and go film a movie. And this is his comeback movie. A lot of people are like, Heretic 2 sucked, but then he does, what was the movie right before this? Oh no, Zardoz in 74, Heretic 2, and John Boorman is like on the ropes. And this movie better make it. This movie better make it good, because if not, John Boorman will not have a career left to enjoy the 80s with.
Yeah.
And so Excalibur came out, and probably 45% of the people thought it was great. 55% thought it was, it's okay, or it sucked. And a lot of those people that thought it sucked are critics. If you look at their meta score, it's a piss poor performance. But my God, this movie is just fucking amazing. Okay, have to have a really big finger for AHS. Yeah, she had daddy issues. Daddy filmed her naked. And then Disney needs to take notes then. Latchkey kids like myself took care of ourselves in the 80s. Parents both worked. It was what it was. Yeah. We, Generation X.
Well, you'd have to get on IMDb and look and see who the second director was, because you have first crew and second crew. Second crew is usually them filming the scenes that don't actually have the principal actors in it. So they'll have like the stand-ins, like, or lookalikes that are crossing the street, different things like that, or the scenes where you got two people in bed together that you think is the actors because they zoom out and then it's the fake people, things like that. And so that could be the second director that could have filmed some of the scenes that maybe so it wasn't him watching his daughter do that.
No. He was there on set.
I'm not saying he wasn't on set. I'm just saying it wasn't him filming it or him directing.
He's directing his daughter.
Oh, okay. Well, that's just what you get when you act, and you got an acting family. That's what you got to get used to, that stuff. Just like Ron Howard. I'm sure Ron Howard's kids, were in lots of sets that they were on.
Katrine Boorman, I'll get this clip here, and not clip it. I'm just going to copy this and paste it in the chat.
What is it?
I've always said that once you've been raped by Gabriel Byrne and Corin Redgrave in armor, watched by your father, you never look back, says Katrine Boorman, says in The Independent. That's kind of telling right there.
Yeah, how impersonal is that too? It's just like you going and picking up a prostitute and you just whip it out. You don't even take your pants down. You just say, give me a blowjob or whatever. It's just very, unromantic or anything. It's just lust. It's just gross.
I feel personally attacked here, but all right.
Well, I mean, if the sad fact is, if a woman's going to perform, why can't the guy perform too? Why does it always have to be the woman do on her knees?
You are earning scale. All right. Here's the second unit that was going on throughout the filming of this movie.
So who was the second unit director?
That would be Barry Blackmore. Then you have second assistant director being Robert Dwyer Joyce, John Lawlor, Pete McDonald, Andy Montgomery, Ted Morley, David Murphy, and Martin O'Malley. So you have a lot of people that helped out Mr. Boorman, and they did quite a bit of work, it looks like, but not enough to where he had 7 of them. John Lawlor, funny enough, he actually was the second unit director for Highlander 2.
Oh, that was
Highlander Part 1, I should say, not Part 2. For
the TV series or for the movie?
The movie back in 1986. The only part of that entire franchise that matters. I hate having to state it like that, but I have to state the same thing whenever Star Wars, episodes 4 through 6. Sorry. Ted Morley was and he lived to 2004, but he was a production manager for Empire of the Sun and Braveheart. And then Dave Murphy, born in 1977. And
I love Braveheart. It was a good movie too.
Yeah, this guy was born in 1977, and he was obviously just on set with his parents because he was 4 or 3 during the filming of Excalibur. Second unit director, age 3. How does that happen? I'm just going to share this with you because I don't want you guys to think I'm bullshitting here. All right. Nope. There we go. David Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
David Murphy. Born June 16th, 1977. Excalibur is released 1981. He was 3.
So they just put his name on there because they could for credit. I mean, because he was on set.
Yeah, that's basically it. He was also known as a production manager for Dune in the Kingdom. Kingdom is one of my favorite movies.
In the first Dune, when did it come out?
1984. And I could
so
tell you
he wasn't very old when he was on that set either.
Dune 2021, not Dune 1984.
Okay, well, the thing is okay, because I've seen that happen a lot where they'll be filming and one of the producers will come in and they'll have 2 kids and they'll say, we want my kids in this scene, put them in the scene, and they'll move things around. They'll either be a patient or whatever, fits into the scene, and then they get their name in the credits. So that's just the way it works. But when you got the money and you got the right position, you're going to get your kids involved if you want them, to be involved in movies or music video or whatever.
Wolfton Media says, I wonder what the family dinner was like after that shooting. I can imagine it might be something like that.
She was probably so excited because she got to actually do a real scene in a movie, and they were all proud of her and stuff and tell her what a great job she did. So it didn't, it doesn't really matter that it was a sex scene, but she got to act. I mean, she was believable when she gave the birth to the baby and all that stuff.
She did a very good job in this movie.
I mean, so she did a good job. I wouldn't have known that she was just, the director's daughter, that she wasn't hired to play that one part simply because she was an actress. I wouldn't have noticed if I didn't look it up or you had told me. So, she did a good job. She was very believable of a mother losing her baby.
Yes. Bowsette's like, nothing's wrong with prostitutes. If you're a guy, you pay for it no matter what, married or not.
What about the women? They pay. Hey, I'm a woman. I'm telling you right now, I've scrubbed and mowed and cut limbs and done all kinds of stuff. And I deserve whatever I put into it too. Not just, and cook, do laundry, do all that, ironing clothes. I've done all that stuff. I mean, I'm worth it. I'm worth something. I mean, if he dies, I deserve to be able to retire or have a place to live when I'm old. To me, that's fair. If you're there for him and you're supportive, that's what love is supposed to be. And I'm sorry that so many people seem to be getting screwed over because they got fat wallets or something. I don't know. I'm not rich, so.
Travis J 1975 says it was Hollywood, lots of these Disneys and incest.
It still is.
read the book The Godfather, and you'll just see how long it's been going on. It's never stopped.
It's been going on since they first started, and before then. So.
The United States is not honest with itself. Its God is Baal. Its God is a transsexual, child molesting deity. And that's what we have in our country. If you want it to change, you have to make it a bloody change. Congrats, kids.
Well, plus too, I've always said that if you have a child, your baby or your small child that's going to be on set and be in a movie, I would never leave my kid. I'd be in the room 24/7, and they can't not let you be there. If they did, you should take your kid and leave because they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. If you can't, the mommy can't be in there with them or the dad. Exactly. So I wouldn't trust it then.
Six Nations 31 Kings says something about presentism. He's like, it was also a time where certain things were played very loose compared to 2022 sensibilities. Yes, presentism is a sad, sad boil on our reality. Hey, Wolfton, if you got to go to bed, thank you for being in chat, and I appreciate you being here, my friend.
Thank you.
This movie just, if you've not seen it before, which I don't think anybody in our chat is a virgin to this film, I think you guys know why we like this movie. There's a lot about this film that's fantastic. And you can watch it at different ages. You'll get different things out of it. But you catch things on rewatches that you're not going to catch in the theater. You're not going to catch it the first time sitting at your friend's house. Chatting.
Yeah, because it's so packed with so much information in every scene, basically.
I was amazed that 140 minutes went by so fast. I didn't realize it was that long.
I didn't either.
I thought it was a short movie. And the scenes, the act 2, where Percival goes on his quest and Mordred captures him, and then he's hanging there, and then he starts having his delusions, visions. That was something that I forgot completely about. And when I'm watching that again, I'm thinking, man, that guy's a really good actor. This is a better movie than I remembered it. Now I saw this the first time when I was like 7. And here I am at 47. Wow, 40 years. And I'm thinking this movie is a classic. As much as people want to bitch about it and say it's too grandiose, it's too bombastic. No, this movie's perfect. This movie is literally perfect for everything it achieves to do. And I thought that they don't need to ever retell the story. The first night with Sean Connery and what's I want to say the gay guy, but he's not gay. Richard Gere. Richard Gere and Sean Connery were in this film, and Sean Connery was supposed to play King Arthur at the start of this movie.
Yeah.
And he attached to it for like 3 weeks, and then he lost it to Nigel Terry for some reason or other. And Nigel Terry could play a convincing young Arthur, is what I'm thinking. Convincing with makeup. But after the movie gets going, after that first hour, you never have that worry again. So they could have played with Sean Connery, but they wanted to have a man that could be made up to look like he was he'd just gone through puberty.
Yeah. And he did. He looked like a young squire when he was in the scenes where he can't find his brother's sword. And that's when he ends up seeing this there, and he looks around and he pulls it out of this thing, and then he's, you know, and if it hadn't been for the honest people around, who knows who could have taken the credit for it. So, and then he puts it right back in, and then nobody can get it out. You know, they're all upset and they don't understand, except for like Patrick Stewart's character, because he was willing to fight for him.
Yes.
Even though everyone else was against him, because he knew that he was the chosen one. And he'd tried to take the sword himself. And he knew that some young dweeby kid wasn't going to be able to pull it out unless he was supposed to. So he believed him.
He was playing a woman, or he was playing a man that was 12 years older than his daughter, by the way. Because Guinevere is supposed to be his daughter. She's only like 10 or 12 years younger than him. You don't know that unless you look up IMDb, kids. And
yeah.
I'm
but
just
she
saying.
looked very young. The way her hair was, you know, was very wiry. The way she was, you know, like I said, very playful. So yeah, I thought she did good. I thought she did a good job.
She was really wholesome looking at the start of the film, and then whenever they started falling in love, they don't really go into the romancing of Guinevere. They don't do that. They just kind of like, bam, you're married. And
well, the scene where they're dancing and stuff together, and he's talking to Merlin about, you know, I want to marry her. I love her. You know, and he's like, oh God, you can see the look on Merlin's face. It's like, Jesus, don't do this to me again. You know, I just liked Merlin. I thought Merlin was very funny, a very entertaining character. I mean, he had so many levels of knowledge, and I just loved him. I thought he was so personable and stern, because he did have a scary way about him too when he did certain things, when he was because once you realize how powerful he was, I could see why, you know, people would look at him and say, don't get on his bad side. You're going to be dead. He'll turn you into something, an icicle or something. But I just loved him. I thought he was a very good actor, and his portrayal of Merlin was phenomenal to me.
Perfect.
Yeah, he made this movie the success that it was simply because he was just so believable as his character. And same with Ellen Mirren. She was so believable as the sorceress, to be filled with rage and hate towards Merlin.
And that was one of those things whenever you're watching this and you're like, okay, so this is why Morgana hates Merlin. And
Yes.
It's because she's remembering at the age of like 8 or however old she was, all this happened. She's always reflecting back on that. And she wakes up in the morning pissed.
Yeah, and you got to remember too, after Merlin took the baby, and she said, "Are you going to be its mom and dad, or mother and father now?" But the thing is, she has to live with her depressed mother. Who knows what happened to her mom and what kind of childhood she had, because her mother lost her baby, right after it was born.
I'm pretty certain that there might have been stories about Morgana, because there's a lot of parables and stories that made it through mythology about Lancelot. There's a few stories about Percival. So I'm pretty certain that Morgana's got her own little literary universe within like mythology as well, but they don't really focus on that a lot. This movie's about Arthur, his depression, Percival's quest to find the Grail, and return Merlin and the land back to health. And I was astounded by the scenery, and once again the soundtrack, because I never really paid attention to the soundtrack when I was a young kid watching it. The soundtrack is cool, okay, whatever. Nowadays, I listen to it, like I said, probably once every 60 days or less. And there's parts of it where like it'll pop up in my feed and I just like hit play.
I felt sorry for I didn't in the first time I saw it, but this time when I watched it, I felt sorry for her son, because from the moment he was born, everyone hated him. So the only person that loved him was his mother. You know what I mean? Even the soldiers or the knights or whatever you want to call them that protected him were all under spells. They weren't even there for him. They were just there because the mother had put a spell on them. So he was bitter and lonely from day one, simply because of who he was and how he got to be there. And that was sad to me. I felt sorry for him. Couldn't help but be a spoiled, rotten brat because of where his mother had put him. Just like Calibas in the other movie, because his mother was a goddess and spoiled her son to where he became a brat and no one wanted to have anything to do with him because he was a horrible person. And then when they hung Percival in that tree, they didn't realize that when they hung him there, they hung him next to somebody who had those spurs on their boots, and the spurs are what cut his bindings. And that whole time when he's doing that gasping, and you hear him, he barely breathing. It was so realistic to me. It was very, and he came so close to dying, and that's what opened his mind to the vision of what the Holy Grail was, and that he had to take it back and tell him.
That was part of the movie that I forgot about. And I forgot about Act 2 being almost completely Percival, going through his questing knight phase.
10 years. Wasn't it like 10 years?
Yeah.
His armor was all rusty and tattered and dirty, and he was filthy, but he was still doing it. He was still going out on a daily basis, looking, trying to find it, until he met that boy in the woods.
And once that happened, everything kind of changed, and then
everything started falling into place for him.
He gets into whatever the keep is, where he finds the Grail, where that entire scene, they didn't have that big of a scene for it or a big of a building, but they put a matte painting in there to make it look like there's a giant long hall that you have to walk all the way down. and they did a fantastic shot with that, and I thought that's almost perfect.
Yeah,
And,
to me though, it didn't look like a hallway. It looked like a massive staircase going up.
Yeah.
And then you could see the king standing up there, and he was the one talking to him in his vision. So I just thought it was it's almost like when people have near-death experiences and they say they see a blinding light,
yes.
and then others say they see nothing but darkness, and then they see hideous things crawling around in there. So it just depends, I think, in your imagination or your choices that you've made, because everyone has regrets when they know their time is over. You know, that's why when you get older, you start going, God, I wish I'd went to Rome, or I wish I'd done this, or I wish I had bought that house, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we all go through that realm. Like, you know, I'm getting old. I didn't have any kids. I didn't get married. You know, I need to rush and try to find someone I can spend the rest of my life with. You know, those things, regrets. No, I'm just saying, but everyone thinks about those things. And that's basically what Percival was doing when he had his near-death experience. He was he had regret that he forgot, you know, what the meaning of life was for his king, basically. And I thought that was a big, huge character arc for his character, to go through the trials and tribulations of trying to get something to hand back to his king when he went back home, and so he wouldn't die, because he knew he was dying along with the lands.
Yeah, that was the one thing about it. It was really weird how Arthur was tied to the soil itself, and
because
I marvel at that.
Merlin did that to him.
Yes,
remember, he said you were one with the dragon way back when he put the when he had the king put the sword in the stone. He did that spell to Arthur.
I gotta say hello to Just a Fat Gamer. Steven, it's always a pleasure to have you in here in the chat. I love this guy. He has if you are an individual that wants to watch fun game streams, Just a Fat Gamer. I want to, Janet, if you could talk for like 20 seconds, I'm going to put this guy's link in chat.
Okay, so, well, let me find my other note I had about, let's see, what was it? Oh, can we talk about the part where Helen Mirren is in sleeping, and Merlin has been awakened, and he's in a dream state, and he goes to see her in his dream?
Yes.
Okay, and he's in the tent with her, and that's when he gets her to do the charm of making, by making her think that she's helping, by making the fog herself. And when he was asked, or when Merlin was asked about he was a dream to some, but a nightmare to others. I thought that was a really good line for Merlin to use.
Yes.
But the whole thing is that she was using her magic to keep herself beautiful and young.
Yeah,
so
that was a shock when when her son killed her.
Well, he killed her because he didn't know who in the hell she was. And remember, he was a spoiled, rotten brat. Nothing meant anything to him except for what he wanted. And what he wanted was to be king and the ruler, because his mother had told him that since the day he was born. What's so funny?
I'm looking at the chat here. Bruce has gone Tombstone. Hey, I like Sam Shepard. I'm sorry. If he holds a bucket of chicken, I'm out for Colonel Sanders. Hi, Janet. My monologue's over. Tell us your secret recipe.
Oh, I'm trying to read it now since you brought it to my attention, to the side over here.
6 Nations, 31 Kings is like 13 herbs and spices, all of them MSG.
Oh, well.
And I got the chat there. If you guys want to follow Steven, he's an amazing creator. He's funny. He's got good merchandise. I mean, hold on. Let me show you this handsome mug. Most handsome mug in the entire fellowship. This right here. It's a Master Griff mug.
Yeah, I've watched quite a few of him playing his game, and boy, he loses his temper really quickly with some of his players, which is very entertaining.
I love this guy.
Yeah,
If
he's a
I
hoot.
play Fortnite with him because I have Fortnite and it's
I've
free.
never played Fortnite. Maybe I should. I'm trying to learn right now how to play Goat Simulator because it's
Get
funny.
good with Goat Simulator with the movement, and then we'll get you on Fortnite.
Well, I have my Goat Simulator on rated R on the R version right now, where you can see the entrails and whatever else you do to the people.
Yes.
So I've been playing it, and I'm using the keyboard. I'm trying to learn how to do that. And then once I get good enough, I'm going to do a live stream on my channel playing Goat Simulator.
Steven says, gamer rage is calming. And then
Yes.
Cal says, Bruce is a love child of Colonel Sanders and Mr. Clean.
Yeah. Yeah, you look like it.
Having my baby.
Okay. You should go for it. You go as Mr. Clean on Halloween.
That actually is a plan. I have a completely clean T-shirt waiting on this day in less than a month and a half. Yep,
it'll be fun.
Yeah, I think we're streaming that night too.
Monday night, right? It's Halloween, yeah, and I don't have to leave, so I'm excited about it.
Now, this is the only version of the Arthurian Legends where Mordred's the son of Morgana, and Mordred kills Morgan. Now, she's Morgana in this version, but this is the only film or cartoon or any version of this media, the myth, where the son of Morgana gets killed or kills his own mother. And the original story, like what this was based off of, it's Morgan has the sword, and Arthur gives Percival Excalibur. He's like, you take this. I don't want to kill my son with this. And Morgan comes in hacking on his father, and King Arthur just like and stabs his son, and then grabs him and pulls him close. And this year, it's a little bit better. I actually like this version a lot better because the son runs his father through. Let us embrace one last time. And then the father's like, oh, I guess I'm checking out. Whack! Adrenaline surge, and he whacks his son to death. And his son falls over. And then Arthur gets a spear removed, and he's giving Percival the instructions, which I thought, okay, this takes like 6 hours. When Percival receives the note from Arthur, go down to any body of water and wait till you see the hand come out of the lake. Throw the sword at the lady. And
well, that's not really what he said in the movie, because he said find a calm body of water and throw Excalibur in. He didn't tell him, because when he came back, remember, he couldn't throw it the first time. And when he came back and King Arthur was there almost, pretty much almost dead, he said, what did you see? And he said, I saw nothing but the calm water. And that's when he said, I couldn't do it. I couldn't throw Excalibur in.
He actually goes down to the water twice and doesn't throw it.
Yeah.
Third time is when he succumbs. Percival's like, I will do what my king asks me. And he flings the sword in the water after he starts seeing the hint of the Lady of the Lake, and then she grabs the sword and down the sword goes. And this movie does a lot of things right. And the original form that this took, the original story which it was lifted from, is not a bad story. It's a really good story for English lit people. If you like sword and sandal or knights and grape movies, grape stories, this is a really good original version. But the movie Excalibur 1981, John Boorman, I think it succinctly tells a story, and it actually improves the original. Just like, you're going to hate me, guys. Well, except for Shadow. Shadow's going to agree with me. Everybody that I know says The Watchmen is the best graphic novel they've ever read, which is a great graphic novel. But the movie, The Watchmen, is better because it fixes a lot of things that in the comic book, it either doesn't address or it goes about the wrong direction. And the movie kind of takes these issues and it kind of threads a needle a little better, makes a more taut film, which is how I feel this does with the original Arthurian Legend. This actually does some justice to it. It kind of makes it a more tighter narrative that you can watch it, and within an hour and within 2 hours and 20 minutes, you're going, it's over. this movie shouldn't be over that quickly. This is really good.
Well, even before the scene that we didn't really get to talk about was the scene where he finds his wife and her lover, okay, in the woods. And you see him raise his Excalibur up, and you're thinking he's going to stab one of them, right? But then he doesn't. He stabs the ground in between them. And then when they wake up, and she sees the sword and shouts out, and that's when they're devastated, and they all like become basket cases basically. Sir Lancelot goes off and becomes like a hermit, you know, walking around, a homeless zealot or whatever, and then she joins a nunnery, and then Arthur goes back, and he basically sits in his chair and he's wasting away. That's awful. Who did that?
That is our good friend, Fat Steven Seagal. I love that.
That is funny. Oh my God. Yeah, Steven, you're a hoot.
Parrot Head. If you are looking for that, that's on Fat Steven Seagal's Discord. And let me get that for you here in chat just a second.
Yeah, tell Steven to send me his Discord. I'd like to follow him on Discord.
Oh, I'm getting ready to pop that in chat right now.
But how do I get it? I mean, I don't know how to use any of it yet.
Discord?
No, I mean on this, you know, how it's set up. How do I get it from there and take it to where I want to need it?
What do you mean?
I mean, if I want to, how do I click on it so I can go to it?
You're going to have to use another device than what you're using, or you have to open up 2 tabs on your browser.
Because I tried to do that on here, remember, and it was so loud because I was going to have the chat on my computer, but I couldn't do it. So you're going to put it, I'll get on my phone, and what do I do? Just tap on it?
Just, yes, tap on it.
Okay. So when it comes up, I'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Daryl the Derelict says, this is still my favorite movie next to Star Wars original trilogy. Travis, 1975, praising L. This is an okay movie. Click on it later in a video live chat replay. And Travis Jason, 1975, says, women naturally know how to click it.
Oh, yeah, apparently. Most women.
So, no, the scene where Lancelot and Guinevere go out in the woods and she just ravages him.
Well, she's the one that went there. He didn't come after her. She left the castle, got on a horse, and rode to him.
Yes, and
because she was horny and she wanted to have sex with him.
Yes. The thing that started it all was when they're riding after the wedding, and she's like, who do you love? And she wants to know, which of these maidens can I set you up with? And he's like, I'm already in love with a woman, and she already loves me. And she's like, oh, really? He's like, yes, it's you. And he explains to her, like, you've married my best friend, and
my king.
I'm going to get to watch you have a family. I get to protect you. So I thought when he did that like softened her, and it really made her just inquisitive about him. And then whenever, like, there's a part in this movie where there's 5 minutes that go by, but what really happens is Lancelot has to fight a bunch of dudes. And after Nigel Terry playing Merlin, or playing Arthur, he's sitting on the throne, and he's just clicking on places, sending Lancelot over here, fight these bandits, go over here, fight these bandits, go over here, fight these bandits. And there's a 3-hour cut that was never released that you can see part of it in the trailer, but Lancelot's rescuing Guinevere from bandits. And that was part of the film at one point.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of edited that out, and Guinevere just got even more of a wet panty situation with him, and she's like, I really like this guy because he's willing to go out and do this for me, not realizing that my husband can't go out and do all these things for me because he's got to be king. And she kind of has this momentary derp moment where she's not thinking right. She's like, if my husband really loved me, he'd be doing all these things for me. Instead, it's Lancelot. Lancelot loves me.
Yeah, when she kept asking him, why can't you be my the one to fight to prove her innocence? And she's upset by him because she felt like he was letting her down because he wasn't being a man for her. You see what I mean? He said he has to be king first and husband second. And she didn't want to accept it that way.
That's very true.
And so that was ever since, you know, before even before that, she was already starting to have doubts about whether or not she loved him as a husband or just as a king. And then as time went on, she just loved him as a king and not as a husband. Yeah. So, but she was lucky that she was married to someone who actually gave a crap about whether she was a, you know, just a piece of meat and didn't have 25 girlfriends, you know, one of those kind of guys, because he actually did love her. So the whole thing to me was tragedy because what woman wouldn't want to have a man that just loved her as much as he did? When he looked at her and loved, just he oozed with love. I would love to have her. I would love to have a man look at me like that loved me and wanted to look at me like that every day, want to go with me and hold my hand, go hiking with me, watch the sunset, go on picnics, you know, but I would look the same way at him because I know he loves me. And to me, that's worth more than any amount of money. But apparently people do, you know, are more like a Guinevere, you know, looking for what they can get from someone instead of looking at what they can give someone, you know. And that's what a lot of my shorts, when I make them, a lot of my little things are about, you know, accepting you know, that you can't do everything and just love yourself first and then you can love other people, you know, that type of thing. So I don't know, I really felt bad for him because to me Arthur was a perfect person. I mean, he loved his country, he loved his wife with every ounce of his being, and he loved his people, he loved his knights. He made a round table for them so they could all be equal, you know. He was a perfect king, but he was betrayed by the two people that should have loved him more than anyone else, and they didn't. They loved each other more.
There was a betrayal beforehand, and that was when Morgana was sitting there with Gawain, and she puts it in Gawain's head, and Gawain
because it was true though.
Yeah,
you can't put something in someone's head or have things happen just because you think it's going to happen. It happens because people actually are going to do it.
She pointed it out to him and he couldn't ignore it. The funny thing about that is that those two had a real life romance. And after this movie was filmed, she moved in with him for 4 years.
Well, she's a lucky woman.
Helen Mirren and yeah, your guy from the movie Taken. I'm just going to say lucky bastard. Okay. So Elle says, too many Arthurian movies. The best one's Sam Neill with Merlin. That's a good movie. I disagree. This is actually
I like Sam Neill too, though. He's a very good actor and very, very, very handsome older man. I mean, he is
liked him in
good-looking guy. I mean, he's aged very well.
I didn't think he would age that well from L.A. Law. I'll just say that.
I think he's gotten better looking as he got older because I didn't think he was that attractive at all when he was younger.
He is an ugly ducky.
More distinguished now. And when I saw him in this latest dinosaur movie, whatever, the Jurassic Park movie, I thought it was like, wow, he's still a good looking guy. So, boy, you can tell I'm in the mood. I can't help it, people. Sorry.
That time of month, it's the moon. It's you know, it's waxing.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's getting close to having a full moon or something. I don't know. It's just not normal.
The king's not good enough. We're gonna find a stake to burn her at, says Gal.
Yeah.
Elle's like, Cal, if we find a
I need some steak. I need some meat. I need to eat some meat. That'd help me out. But you know, I really, to me, the whole thing was a travesty. I really felt bad for Arthur because from the moment he laid eyes on her, he fell in love with her.
Yeah, and
before he was really put in any situation where he had to make decisions as king, he was able to be there for her. You know, she was entertained by him, you know, because his little quirky way of romancing her and stuff, you know, when they were dancing and just, you know, just the little things he did for her. But once she saw Sir Lancelot, you know, her eyes widened and she's like, oh, he's so handsome. And she was taken aback by him. Yeah, she was thinking, she was thinking about all the things she should have been thinking about. And instead of letting him, because he tried, he's the one that left. Every time he'd see her and she'd look at him and wave or whatever, he would leave. You know, he would make an excuse and leave. So he was the stronger one until she showed up and threw herself on him, you know, in the woods. But, you know, he couldn't help it then. I mean, but she's the one. If she hadn't went to the woods, I don't think anything would have happened. No. So I put most of it on her because he tried hard not to dabble where he shouldn't be dabbling.
I think that he still would have injured himself with that deep wound when he had his little wrestling match with himself. I think he still would have gotten hurt, but I don't think it would have been all the land would not have been wounded as it was.
But the land was wounded, I thought, because of Arthur's heart was broken. He didn't want to. He didn't want to live. He everything he loved in the world was his best friend and his wife.
Yeah,
were both taken in one swoop, and he could have killed both of them right then, and it could have chopped their heads off or whatever, and no one would have. You know, said, hey, what you did was wrong. It was murder or whatever, because he deserved to do it. But instead, he sacrificed the one thing, which was Excalibur. He left it behind, the king without a sword. Remember? So he was devastated by it, but and he didn't deserve it. He was the one person in that whole situation that didn't deserve what happened to him. And Percival was such a shining star in the darkness, even when he was just a young boy that has nothing, following Lancelot through the woods. And him becoming a squire and then ending up becoming a knight because the Arthur had denied him to you know, fight for his wife. And then at the last minute, Lancelot comes back, so he didn't have to fight for her, but he became a knight anyways, because once you're knighted, you're a knight.
Yeah, there's no going back.
So and he was a good knight. He was very loyal to his king, and he's the reason why he was able to come back and have him drink the wine and tell him his purpose again, make him realize what he was. It was him and the land were one, and then he was able to stand up and start wanting to fight for his, you know, what was his, and he knew he was going to fight his son because that was all he could do.
And once that happens, like, the movie just kind of switches in high gear. You've got like 25 minutes left on the timer.
It's almost all fighting.
It's all fighting from that point on. And it's glorious. For it being a 1981 film with not the best choreography, and they did their best with this movie. They did a lot of good inertia work, a lot of good kinetics are in this film. The way that they have to, like, literally display that they're putting their shoulder into a sword swing to try to even break the armor or get past the armor is almost perfect. And I'm as a D&D nerd, I can't really stop talking about this film. I was going to paint miniatures throughout this whole time, but I've been staring at the camera the whole time instead. And I was so enmeshed with the film that at the point when Arthur is wrestling up everybody, we're going to go fight Mordred. And then they get to the hillside. What's that? It's Mordred's forces. We will camp out here for the night. you don't have much of the movie left. It's a very very quick, very explosive energy finish to that movie,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to see a couple more of his knights get killed. Percival maintains his health and his ability to dodge large, heavy objects, which could make him scream and bleed. The other knights don't do that so well. But oh my God,
Well, I think it was because of him after he'd been out for 10 years. He was skinnier, he was smaller because he wasn't eating as well. And he was drained, he was kind of like worn out. So he didn't really have much time to prepare for that type of battle. So he was small and able and agile to, dodge and not be hurt. And it was almost like it was meant to be that way, and him to find the king and get Excalibur and put it back in the lake for the next king.
The scene where Mordred kills Morgana, that I watched that 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it was a good scene because she deserved it.
She did.
She deserved to die as an ugly old hag for everything she'd done to Merlin. At least that's how I looked at it, because Merlin was my favorite character. Even though I dressed like I'm I wanted to dress up like a little bit like a sorceress or whatever, but because I think that's the whole thing, her character was just really phenomenal character. And her character arc was phenomenal, but she became an evil old witch and she deserved to die like one.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it. So that was great. And the fact that she died at the hands of the one person that she worshipped.
Tried to enable and tried to empower, and he ends up just getting rid of her. And all the glamours that she had on herself, they go away with her lifeblood. And you just get to see this old,
because she drained herself of her powers to do the charm.
Yes.
The charm of making, or whatever it was.
And the part where she gets bewitched by Merlin and she's laying on the bed, I'm just gonna say, like, for men, fan service. Okay. I like this movie. I think this is probably one of the most influential films for fantasy. The 1980s are not known for great fantasy films. You have the last of the great Ray Harryhausen films with Clash of the Titans. We did that last week. You have Excalibur in 1981. It's a dry spell from 81 to 2001. You guys can disagree with me. That's fine. You can say, oh, but Legend. Oh, but Crow. Oh, but Hawk the Slayer. Okay, guys, we know the truth.
What about Labyrinth?
That's not good fantasy. It's enjoyable fantasy. It's like the Dark Crystal. It's mainly aimed at children, but it's not the level of fantasy. It's not the magnitude that I want to see. It's not the magnitude I want to play in either. This would be a perfect Pendragon, and I'm sure many Pendragon RP games have been this movie. And Pendragon used to be a really popular fantasy role-play game based on D100 principle from Chaosium. I love those people. Please never suck. You have that, and then like Elle's like, but Black Cauldron. The Black Cauldron's a good animated film. So is Fire and Ice. But that doesn't mean that this is the same level of epic fantasy as this. You have Excalibur, and for the next 20 years, you're in a drought until the Fellowship of the Ring comes out. And you know how much it pains me to say that, because we had Dungeons and Dragons in 2001, and you had Jeremy Irons, you had one of the Wayans guys, you had some really good people involved with special effects. There's a really good tracking shot through the bar in that movie, and Dungeons and Dragons movie just fell apart. And I love that movie, even though it sucks, because I think Jeremy Irons is the best part of it. But you don't have a movie in in any way to have the scope of Excalibur until you have the Fellowship of the Ring. And I'm not forgetting Lady Hawk. Lady Hawk would be a fine movie, but I don't like the Alan Parsons Project.
Well, I loved Lady Hawk too. I thought it was very good. I loved it. But see, to me, that's the one thing I've noticed about a lot of people that in all the different chats that I've gone to, all the different YouTube channels that I've gone and watched different things they're talking about, different fantasy films, things like that. The sad fact is, it seems like so many people just write off stuff because they think it's oriented towards children. But to me, the child in me, I loved David Bowie in Labyrinth. I thought it was very sexy. I thought he was sexy. I thought he was, I thought he exudes sexuality to me. It was totally different. It was almost like getting to see Iggy Pop up on stage or something. I don't know. But I loved his wig that he wore, the makeup. I loved the little dwarf guy that was helping her through the maze. Just little things, subtle things about it were very, I don't know.
Movie magic in Labyrinth. We will be doing a 2-hour discussion on Labyrinth in the future.
But I mean, it was a different type of fantasy film compared to what we're watching like tonight. Just like that movie World of Warcraft. Okay. Yes. Excellent movie, but it's totally different. You can't take all Westerns and put them into one thing and say they're all Western. They're not. They're all different in different ways that to bring out different things a Western would have in it to me. So that's the same thing I think of when I think of fantasy or sci-fi or any of that. Is it depends on what, like with the whole thing with the fairies in Labyrinth when he's spraying them with the spray bottle and just all the different things, it made fairies as, you know, not a good thing. So it just depends on the story. Yeah. So I just think it's the story, but I loved that. I loved Legend with Tom Cruise, even though I don't really like Tom Cruise, but I loved Tim Curry and I thought he was kick ass as Darkness. So
I think Curry's a bright spot in Legend. And I know that sounds bad, but I love Tim Curry in that movie. Tom Cruise is just he's a hero, but
yeah, he's just but the never ending story. I thought it was an excellent movie. Atreyu was a hero, and the young boy that played it, and the horse, and I mean, just everything in it was you were rooting for the hero. I mean, that's what the whole thing to me when you have a fantasy movie, just like me in this movie, I was rooting for Merlin and Arthur, and to me, you're supposed to, okay, because they're the heroes. So to me, that's what I took from the movie.
Out of all the movies we just mentioned, the one that I probably have watched the most and have every intention to watch within the next 2 weeks is The Dark Crystal.
Oh, I love that one too. And it was a kid's movie.
That's a
puppets in it.
But like that movie there has like a level of grit and grime in it that I really enjoy. Labyrinth does not. Legend really does not. Although those two movies are fun to watch. They're great to watch. And I, as a person who just like, I want to give every special effects guy I ever meet, like, here's a beer. I've watched your stuff and I love it.
Yeah, the Skeksis were very scary. There's things of nightmares are made of to me.
There's only one movie that gave me nightmares as a kid more than The Dark Crystal. And that was The Wizard of Oz.
The original one?
The original 1939 classic.
Yeah, and I didn't have nightmares because of it.
Yeah. Well, I was traumatized as a child, and
what was it? The Witch or the Flying Monkeys? What was it?
Both the Flying Monkeys. The Flying Monkeys I saw on a 28-inch television back in the day, and then we got to watch it on our 19-inch when I started watching things at home. And then my cousin one time dressed up as the Wicked Witch of the West, and I didn't like being tickled when I was a young kid. I used to pee myself, and so like
most kids did.
she hit puberty before I did, and so I got forced to the ground. And she was not a bigger girl, but she was athletic and all that crap. And so I'm face down in the mud, and she's tickling me, and like in this witch outfit. And so like at the age of 9 or 10, I'm having this experience happen. I'm like, I really don't like this.
Oh, so you had a bad experience with a witch.
Horrible experience.
So you're going to always have like some type of phobia towards witches. Just like I know people who have phobias for clowns, different birds or whatever. And it does because you had a bad incident with it. But see, I was lucky. I didn't have any bad instances with anything like that. So I love vampires. I love all of it. I mean, so I'm lucky.
The flying monkeys just kind of scared me because it was on a big screen, and my grandma was like, "You like that part? You like that part?" And I'm like, "No," and like the last thing I want to do is walk through a store with a bunch of mannequins and have the mannequins like grab things and throw them at us like they're the treants chucking apples walking down the yellow brick road. I just don't want to deal with that.
But look back at that the scenes with the monkeys. They were like midgets.
Yes.
Not dwarfs, midgets, real midgets, where all their proportions are normal for their small little size. A dwarf has a normal size head and body and tiny arms and legs. That's the difference. But the makeup and stuff on all that was phenomenal for that movie. I thought it was just wonderful. I just loved it when I finally got to watch it.
Now, after the age of 17, when one day we had a bad incident at a family reunion where Bruce got his comeuppance, that ceased. The hostilities between me and the cousin, like, okay, we're good now, we're good. And her nose sits off to the side. It's great. So
did you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Well, my mom used to put my sister Sandy, we used to fight constantly, I guess because we were the closest in age. And we would have little fist fights, and my mom would make us stand in the middle of the living room and duke it out until whoever gave up. It usually was my sister. She always ended up, quitting or giving up or whatever. But all parents have to deal with it, I guess, whatever way works for them.
But after the age of 25, I started watching this movie, The Wizard of Oz. And aside from the fact that I've had like traumatic issues, whatever. But like I can appreciate the movie now, and especially after I started reading about the book, and the book is fantastic. The book, there's a real financial portion about the book that reflects on 1930s America that a lot of people don't want to look at or want to realize, but it's in the book. Trust me on this. If you read it, you'll understand. Silver's good for you. Gold, not so much. You can invest in silver. Gold, you require a lot more money. But the incidents that happened around the movie itself, the way that they had to script everything, the way that they had to tone things down originally because the Wicked Witch was scaring kids out of theaters, crying.
She was scary.
Yeah, that bitch is crazy as hell. And like,
well, the fact that she took the Toto and was going to take him and put him in that cage on the front of her bicycle, just the act of that when she wasn't even green or anything. I mean, she was just to me a hideous, horrible woman when she took Toto from her and was gonna turn him in because he tried to bite her because he was trying to protect his master, because she's a mean old hag. So that's how I looked at it. But the movie that scared me the worst, the scariest movie to me, was Jaws. And it wasn't even a horror movie. But after watching Jaws, I was literally, still to this day, I can't go out. I used to swim all the way out to the sandbar, where you go and there's a big darkness area. Then you get up and you can stand up and run around. I loved it. I was the first one to jump in and do that. Now, whenever I'm out and I can look down and it's total blackness, my heart almost stops because all I can see is this giant air jaws coming up and I'm gone. So I just can't do it anymore. I haven't been able to do it since I saw Jaws.
So I
those days were over.
I'm just saying that I don't go in the ocean. Like after I reeled in my first reef shark about 10, 11 years ago, and I realized like, okay, I got it on the dock, and I'm getting ready to stake it out because they don't have any bones. It's just all cartilage, and I'm getting ready to start.
Except for where their teeth are. That's
the only bone. The head was the first to go. The mouth, no, that's going away from me because it tried coming back and like grabbing.
I still would have kept it.
It's there. It's still there in Portland, I'm sure, right at the base of the dock. But I shoved it out with the knife. I'm like, no, you're not going to do that. And then I proceeded to chop this shark up. And I was thinking about it, like, we're just in like 3 foot of water, and there's this like 4 foot long shark easily wanting to take pounds out of my calves and legs and chew them up and make turds. If I go into deeper water, into deeper water, the mouth gets bigger, and there'll be like bite marks they'll be looking at my corpse with, like, this is the size of the shark he encountered. And I'm like, no. So I haven't gone into the water since, and I'm happy. I know that sounds like, oh, Bruce, you're a pussy. Hey, that's fine. Call me a pussy. I don't care. The only
hey, going to water, I can still snorkel and stuff. I've still snorkeled around sunken barges and things like that, as long as I can see a long distance away. Even though I know I would not be able to outswim a shark, but for some reason, I feel like if I could see it coming, that I'd have a chance to get away from it or something. I don't know. But the thought of the blackness, the not being able to see it at all, until it's too late when it's swallowing me whole or whatever. I can't get past that. I just can't even, I stop breathing when I think about it. As soon as the water starts getting cold and I look down, I'm like, fuck this. I get out. I just can't do it. I just cannot get past that. So Jaws was that realistic, even though they made fun of him. They called him Bruce, the name of the shark was named Bruce. But even though it was a robotic shark and all that, even in my mind, I know that it wasn't real. But I've seen real shows on Discovery Channel and other documentaries, and it's not worth it. It's their land. Let them have it.
Ocean is completely theirs. I do not want domicile over it. I don't want dominion over it. I want them to enjoy their salt water and gay incontinence that their tectonic plates have. When they do this, and the oil escapes,
I'll just eat their living family friends and stuff that come out. Then I pull out and get to eat them. I'll eat them.
I'm not even a fan of shellfish. If I go to the store and they have shrimp, huge shrimp, which we do,
prawn.
They have great prawn here. Or if I walk 20 feet over there and there's a bone-in crown pork roast, which is the entire pig's backbone in a circle. Oh, those prawn are gonna have to go to somebody else because I know what I'm taking home tonight.
See, I love sushi. I love clams. I love crawdaddies. I mean, I just love. I haven't had anything so far that I haven't liked.
I mean, it's good. It's just that if I have a repeat dinner that I can have prawn. Or I can have pork. Oh, Templeton is going to be on the spit tonight. We're at the 2-hour mark, and probably I do need to ask you something kind of important, Janet.
About what's next week?
What's next week?
Okay. The movie I would like for us to watch, since it's going to be the first week in October, so it's supposed to be a thriller, scary type stuff, right?
Yeah.
My first movie that I'd like to pick is called oh God, give me a second. Shit.
Stream meth.
Mr. Brooks.
Mr. Brooks.
Starring Kevin Costner and Demi Moore. You ever seen it?
It was a 1986 movie, I think.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't remember. I dug it out, and it's a great movie. It was lots of good actors and stuff in it, good acting, good script, and I think you'd enjoy it. So if you haven't seen it, but that's the movie I want to watch.
And this is a horror-based film with Kevin Costner.
There's some good stuff in it.
One of the 2 Robin Hoods that was a father to Superman in Man of Steel.
Yep, he's a good actor. I mean, I haven't loved all of his movies, but this one I really liked. Totally different look at. And his wife in the movie is the actress that was on CSI, the TV series, the real pretty blonde.
Marg Hellenberger.
Yes, that's his wife in this movie. So
I wish I didn't know her name.
Why, you don't like her?
No, I like her quite a bit. It's just that I reveal my card of like, oh, so you keep up with actors and celebrities. No, I don't. I just know people from movies, and she was in Species.
Yeah, she's been in lots of things. She was in Cowboy Way, remember?
Yes, she was.
She had a good part in it, though.
She was a bright spot in that movie.
Yeah. But yeah, she's in this movie. It's going to be good.
I'm looking forward to it. Now, with that being said, we'll have about another few minutes here with our chat and start getting people ready for the door. If you could talk to them for just a minute or two, I'm going to find a stream for them to bounce to if they so choose. But I'd like my chat. I'd like our chat to have a moment with Miss Janet for just a moment.
Well, what do you want me to talk to him about?
There's a game coming up on Saturday.
Oh, that's right.
People have asked me, how's Janet like the game? So
well, I'm loving it so far. The only thing is I have money now, but I don't know what to do with my money. I don't know what I should buy or, you know, what kind of weapons or spells or anything. I don't have a clue. And I've left a couple of messages in Discord asking, where do I buy my stuff? And what should I buy? But nobody's offered to give me any information because I'm a cleric. I'm half elf. And I want to have better spells, but I don't know if you can even buy spells. See, I don't know. I've not purchased anything before. It's my first time to buy anything. Well, so if any of you in the chat want to help me out by, you know, recommending different things that I should have or I need to get or better armor or I don't know. I have no idea. So I have never done it. And I've got a book. I bought a book and I'm trying to read it, but it's kind of hard for me to understand a lot of the things that are in it, even though I'm loving the game. I think it's fun. I'm so thankful that they invited me to join. And I just want to get better at it and understand what I'm doing, if that makes sense. So if anyone can help me out, that would be great. Armor is your friend. Okay, I saw that. Y'all can buy scrolls. Well, what do scrolls do? I mean, what can I do with a scroll? Does it have a spell on it?
A scroll typically has a spell on it, and it doesn't require you to memorize it and prepare it for the next time you do your casting.
So I just have to carry it with me.
That's it. Don't get it wet. Don't let it get destroyed, and that's it.
Well, but the thing is, how do I know what scroll to buy, and where do I buy this stuff? I don't know where I'm supposed to purchase anything.
You don't. Your character does, though, and she would go to her temple that's within Bard's Gate, or she would go to one of the metropolitan magic shops, which a lot of other dungeon masters like, oh my God, Bruce runs with magic shops, which means that his adventurers are wandering around with thousands of pieces of gold, blah blah blah. But yes, we do, because that's kind of how the game is set up. And you want to be able to go outfit yourself with armor that you're able to wear. You want to have a weapon that is chosen by your deity. And so being a cleric of Freya, you can use swords or maces, I believe. And then you want to have some protective gear to help you on your resistances. Should you have to roll a saving throw, you're going to have a better chance of rolling higher because of those magic items. And
well, so can I do this on Saturday? Would I be able to go to my my church or whatever?
Yeah.
And then be able to do that before we play the game?
Yes.
Okay. And I wanted to ask another question. One of the things I was thinking about, the different people, I heard them talking about it. I don't know if they were able to get it or if they already have it, like shields, swords, and different things that were like magical that helped them. So would I be able to get something to wear that's like magical if I can afford it? See, I don't even know how much money I have for sure. And, you know, how much stuff costs. So
you should have 53,400 gold pieces, if I'm thinking properly, from last game. Just for amount of gold. The party that you're with has been involved with the war effort since they have
started. That's
like,
what they were saying.
Yeah, they did stuff before third level, and then at around fourth level, like the war started off because we were playing a game, and they just decided that they were going to not go after things I was throwing out there. I threw a few hooks for plot lines, and I threw a few. Hey, there's a dungeon over here. There's a stuff over there. There's this over here, and they were just ignoring it. And so one night they're in a bar, and I was like, "All right, fuckers, deal with war." And I had the hobgoblins invade, and I pushed the players all around the hexes on the map and made them like worry about what were they going to do next and how are we going to survive. And not only was it one group of individuals, the hobgoblins, but you had the giants pushing up from the south. So the players were just getting bamboozled and beaten up the entire time. And I've been having a blast doing this, but they're now high enough level to where they can cast things like teleport, which means that they grab all each other, everybody grab hands, and I'm going to take us to Bard's Gate, which is 1,800 miles away.
Yeah.
And
that's what happened to us at the end.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And the party is now in Bard's Gate, which you can buy almost anything that's valued up to 50,000 gold within the core rulebook. And there's other things that are available there, but you want to get some magical armor. You want to get
so all that should be in the book that I just got in the mail, so I should be able to look through that and pick out something to purchase.
Yes. And if you need help with it further, I'll get with you on Discord before Saturday.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm also going to alert Chris to give you a hand too, because Chris is really good about getting people up to speed. And when I say that,
I'm not going to not want some help. I mean, I've posted a couple times, like, what do I buy and where should I buy it? I mean,
I've noticed that, and other people haven't jumped in yet because they're kind of wondering, like, is Janet going to stick around? We've helped out other people before, and they've just gotten bored with the game. They're done. And
no, I'm not bored. I just want to do what I'm doing, with healing and things like that, and be there for like what's encouragement or something, to encourage my teammates. Because if you're successful, then I'm successful. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I've ran this game for 30 years in various editions, but I've never had a player say, I'm going to embrace everything about this class, which involves getting everybody healed up, getting people magically enhanced, empowering them to succeed and do better. And I really don't need the limelight. I've never had that. So I'm just going to say, I found my lifetime cleric player, guys.
When you were telling me about the different characters, I was trying to think of for what I would want. What I would want to be involved in, it would be somebody that can heal people and encourage them to be, to be heroes or whatever. And that's what I was looking for. So I built a character from that, because that's, to me, what I think is, important. Really, for my character to excel is to have winners around her. And if everybody's healthy in their mind and in their soul, then they're going to be successful, and so will I. That's how I'm looking at it.
It's funny because my wife wanted to play cleric, but her job never lets her have the day off, and she's like, and so by the time, it will take you about 6 months to get the hang of it. It'll take you about 10, 20 sessions, something like that. Don't worry. Everybody has their own curve that they follow, but you get good with this. You get good playing a cleric. First off, the party's going to love you as a person, because they're like, oh my God, I hate playing with Bruce because Bruce forces us to have a cleric because he throws a bunch of tough shit at us. And clerics have a lot of ability to battle that because they have a varied spell selection. They have access to various things that a lot of other characters will never have. An important thing in that genre, that millennium, is the ability to heal their compatriots most of the time. Bad clerics don't get to heal people. bad clerics get to heal up undead. They get to repair the things that are not of this earth. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Or they summon demons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now they've said that, but clerics, for the most part, they fight for their god. They cast spells in their god's name, and they keep their parties together. So getting you to have that mindset already, which you've already like grabbed and hold on to, you're going to be fine, Janet.
Okay,
Seriously.
as long as I can just practice and learn, you know, the technical things,
Sure,
and just those type of aspects, because you know, like after you guys were doing some things, and then they repaired a little bit of the wall and things like that. Then I was kept looking through all my spells, and I realized I had a spell that could have fixed 2 of the holes in the wall, but I didn't know it because I didn't know what my all my abilities were.
Yeah,
I hadn't had a chance to look through all that to figure that out, and I was like, but that's what I'm saying. I want to be able to print it out, look at it, visualize it, and then flip through it as we're going through things, so I can pick out what I think is going to help.
You're at the beginning, you're going to have a lot of situations where like, oh, I could have used this. And if something's really crucial where you need this and you didn't have it at the time, or you had the capacity for it, but you didn't get it, get my attention. Most DMs are like, oh, well, somebody else took care of this, or maybe this is still going on, but we can travel back in time and you do this, and we can amend that. And that's not a problem. That really isn't. So,
well, I want to be able to do it, you know, as like when everybody was setting up the whole thing about the tower and everything.
yes.
Okay. And I said, well, I want to use the spells that I saw to give them a little extra bit of courage, so that when they go in there, they have that extra adrenaline going, because they know that they're mightier now, you know, just little things like that. I thought it was cool to be able to do that. And you know, it was subtle and little, but I think it gave us a little bit of an edge, you know, in the battle. So, you know, that's what I want to learn. I want to learn this strategic part that a cleric can have on her team, and that's what the whole thing I was looking at.
Clerics have some edges to them that make them one of the most powerful characters in the game. It'll take you a little bit of time to get used to this character and this class, but I think give it time, you're going to be fine. You're gonna have.
All I know is I want to have fun, and I had a great time the other night. And it seemed like it didn't seem like you were there for so long, but we were. Just like, you know, he said that. I know, it's amazing.
We were there for 8, but we had the conversation before for like 2 hours, but then we started playing, and 6 hours goes by fast.
Yeah, it went by pretty quickly. It seemed like maybe 4 hours, but it was 8 the whole time I was on there. So, you know, that's really good.
Our chat's kind of getting into this. Like Travis is like 53,000 gold. Wow. And then 6 nations, 31 kings, like consecrated wine, a few mules, a wagon. We'll make it a party. Travis again says, does Janet's cleric wear chainmail bikinis? And
I don't have a clue what my costume looks like yet. I haven't really
looked at it.
Looked at her. Now I saw the pictures that they sent me, but I didn't know if that was really me or what he was making me to look like. I don't know. So
you can decide that for yourself. You really can.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just want to look like whatever the game says I should look like.
Okay. I was going to say just figure a cleric of Freya, which you're either in plate mail, half plate, or chain mail, and you have your sword or mace, which you have.
I want to be in whatever I'm able to upgrade to where it's magical, so that I don't die from one blow, you know, from one arrow or whatever.
Critical hits happen. Just accept
that.
I
know that, but okay. I mean, if some peon over there in the woods shoots me with an arrow and I die before I can even do anything, that wouldn't be very good. So I want to make sure I have something. I'm wearing something that's going to protect me from that happening to me.
That's fine, and we'll get you squared away. I'm gonna whenever I shut the stream down and I abdicate and I leave this computer, I'll go and take a look at the things that you have open to you right now and throw some suggestions your way. But I want Chris to probably work with you on that.
Okay, well, that's fine. I can wait till Saturday. I'm going to read I can't do it tomorrow because I'm going to be doing working with Drew tomorrow night. But Wednesday, I'll make my video for, reading a couple more pages from my book. And then after that, I'll be open to just read my book and try to get as much knowledge on that stuff as I can.
It's not a book you read cover to cover. It's more of a reference book or a collegiate manual. And
yeah, that's why I'm going to go through the parts for clerics.
Okay.
The cleric stuff, because that to me is what I need to be reading, right? I don't really need to read the rest of it.
Not really, but there's some spells in the spell portion that you need to understand what they are. The chat's like, oh my God, chainmail bikini it is, and all other options are off the table. But we'll discuss this here. And
bikini won't help me if somebody shoots me in the leg, people. Then I have to be dragging around on the ground with one leg. That wouldn't be much fun.
That would not be fun at all. Anyway, it's about 2 hours, 20 minutes that we've been running on this. Travis, we are playing Pathfinder First Edition. We're going to wrap up this stream for the night, and I haven't eaten yet. She hasn't eaten yet, and so we want to do that before we go crash. And everybody, it's been a blast to talk to you this evening. Janet, what was the name of that movie we're going to watch next week?
Mr. Brooks.
Fantastic. If you guys want to see more of Janet and Janet having fun at a table, we will be playing our game on this channel Saturday, starting at about 12:30. And we get our seats in the balcony, and then we will we'll get gathered in front of you. And for LDG Free the Net, hello, sir. Always good to see you in the chat. I've been following you here and there. He's still working on. He's got a slow project he's building called Prometheus, and I'd love to see that come to fruition. It could smash Facebook. Anyway, Calvinani says my content's exactly. Good night, everybody. And Shadow Sun, good show. Good night. Everyone have a great week, please. Janet, do you want to walk us out?
Come check out my channel. I do mostly shorts. I'm reading my book. I have a book. It's a story blog that I write, and I have 10 chapters on it, and I started reading them for my channel, and I read like 15-minute sections. So it's about vampires, archangels, witches, and warlocks, familiars. So I make them in little bite-sized pieces. So if you want to hear about my book, it's called Revelation. You can come and I read it out loud to you. Just watch my videos. It'd be great.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys being here. We're going to be back next week reviewing the movie Mr. Brooks. Thank you so much for showing up tonight and spending your time with us.
Bye.